All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to this edition of Bitcoin Brief with your host, Tone Vays. And I am, of course, joined by the one and only Jimmy Song. Today is, I'm going to do it the right way like Christine does it, but she unfortunately couldn't join us today. Today is Thursday, August 13th. Jimmy, how are you doing today, man?
Well, it's like seemed like the every other day. This lockdown just feels like it's endless.
Yeah, no, I am with you. And I'm just Googling one more thing real quick before I go to screen share. And there it is. Boom. All right, cool. All right. And
Yeah, you're just
go.
as sick of the lockdown as I am, I'm sure.
Yeah, well, I'm frustrated. And this is the first thing I'm going to mention. What does your shirt say? I'm very curious. I can't see it all.
The swarm is headed toward us from Satoshi 2000.
Oh, nice.
It's one of my favorite shirts. Yeah.
All right, cool. Okay, let's get this show on the road. And speaking of on the road, I will be traveling to BitBlock Boom. I will be joining Jimmy and other speakers. I don't know if I'm on the website yet. We got Dan Held. Some people couldn't make it, like Michael Goldstein. There's Jimmy. Looking forward to hanging with Matt Odell again. I believe Pierre Richard was coming. Or is you off the website? Oh, what happened?
He might no longer be coming. I'm not sure. I'd have to ask him.
All right. Well, Parker Lewis is coming. So I've been reading some of his older articles, and they're actually incredible. So I'm going to be tweeting some of those out. Yep. So this is where I'll be finally, somewhere on the road. This is in Dallas, Texas. BitBlock Boom. Check us out. All right. Now we can get on. Let's talk a little bit about politics before we get into the crypto stories. So we got two politics stories. One of them is not crypto related. One is somewhat crypto related. So have you heard anything about what's going on in Belarus?
Just a tiny bit. I know that they didn't have that much trouble with COVID, but apparently they had to shut down the internet somehow or something like that.
So basically, Belarus is, a lot of people really like Minsk, but Belarus is basically run by, I don't want to say the word dictator, but that's probably the closest term we have. I may be in Belarus one day, so let me not talk too much shit. So if I ever enter the country, I want to make sure I get out. So it's basically not exactly run as a free voting democracy, but they have elections like every country in the European region, even though they're not in Europe, they're way Eastern Europe, bordering Russia, has elections. And the current president won by a landslide, which people did not really like or accept. So they took to the streets. And magically, the internet was busy. And so this article basically talks about like what happens. So this isn't a crypto story. It just basically talks about like the way that the government, they basically, the thing is they basically plugged everything into a single server so that there wasn't, you couldn't get your transactions through, basically like Ethereum. And the internet, which we're going to get to later. So the internet kind of wasn't very useful there, and it was a way to cut out the internet as there was lots of protests, and the government officials weren't very happy with the protesters. So let's just say some human rights may or may not have been violated as retaliation to the protests, and there's no internet to actually show anything what's going on. And my question is, how does Bitcoin help? And it's a question I want to throw to you, Jimmy. Like they talk about mesh networks and how they wouldn't have been reliable because it's a big country. Sorry, I know I asked you a question, but now there was one interesting part here that I like. It's not funny, but it's kind of funny. So it's suggested here. Well, your solution is to go to near the border, and if you're near the border, you can cross into Lithuania and like steal their wire and then connect to that wire for the internet. So that's like their solution to just break into another country's internet network, which I found a little strange as being in the article. But anyway, how can Bitcoin help? And so shit, one more thing. And Belarus is the country where the president is for Bitcoin, where he at one point is translated or quoted as saying, I will put a nuclear reactor towards mining Bitcoin. So the government in Belarus is actually very pro-Bitcoin. But how does it help the people?
Well, I think you can still transact with Bitcoin as long as you have a blockstream satellite kit. I believe Belarus is within the zone that you could receive the satellite signal. And if you can, and then at that point, you would be able to at least download all of the blockchain, the new transactions that are coming in. And you can send your transaction by text message. So there are ways to get around on Bitcoin with this. The trickier thing is something like Lightning. Lightning, I don't think would be that easy. But I mean, I have some hope for the future. I think eventually the Blockstream satellite kit will come with its own Lightning node or something like that. Although there's a lot of communication back and forth between Lightning nodes. So if you had something like a mesh network, but one that your node necessarily didn't have straight access to the internet, but if somewhere along your connected network somebody has internet access, then that would something like that might work. But yeah, I think it's possible to do it that way. You can of course still use open dimes and things like that and verify with something like a Blockstream satellite. Those would all be ways in which it could work. But yeah, it is a little bit difficult when a large part of the internet infrastructure in a particular country is disabled. So, this is why Bitcoin isn't popular in North Korea yet.
Yeah, so this article does talk about the limitations of the mesh network, which I'm not going to get into because that's not my expertise. But it also talks about the limitations of satellites because again, according to the article, and we would one of these days when we ever start understanding Bitcoin show, get one of the Blockstream satellite experts on here, is that satellites do relay their signal through radio waves, and those radio waves are going through the country's airspace, which they have the ability to block, apparently. So this is what the article describes as well, saying that you will have trouble with satellites unless you have like your own special equipment costing tens of thousands of dollars. But hey, we just want to throw it out there. We don't really have solutions. We kind of just talking about it that look, Bitcoin doesn't solve all the problems, but it certainly helps in more democratic places and the first world. And Bitcoin actually helps. The more developed your world is, the more Bitcoin helps. And that's always been my opinion. I've never I'm sorry, Bitcoin is not going to help North Korea. It's the people.
I might have some quibble with you there because I think it's already helping to some degree.
Eventually, it'll help eventually, but like the adoption of Bitcoin starts in the most developed places and then spreads to the less developed places.
Yeah, and that's true. I think the thing about this story that's a little bit odd is because if the entire country is off the internet, I mean, you are hurting pretty much every business. It's not unlike the lockdowns here in the U.S. in that regard. Like every business literally can't communicate with their customers or their suppliers or whatever. So in a sense, it's a very broad shutdown, and Bitcoin got caught in that net. But it's not a lot of things are fragile to the internet in that way.
Yeah, no, it's just this thing when people always, champion Africa, how it leapfrogged certain technologies and it went directly to the cell phone, kind of almost like skipping a lot of technologies. Yeah, but it went directly to the cell phone because the developed world built a very easy and cheap use cell phone for them to use. And they were able to jump onto that technology and leapfrog something. But the cell phone wasn't popularized there. It came there and it allowed them to jump to significantly improve their standard of living on a percentage basis. But it was developed and brought through the more developed nations.
Yeah, I would say that's correct.
Okay. So sticking with politics or geopolitics for one more story. Again, no solutions, just general comments. U.S. prosecutors seize Bitcoin allegedly tied to there's some words I don't want to say because I don't know how Google algorithms work. But anyway, apparently bad actors were using Bitcoin to fund their bad activities. You guys can see the article here. I like, well, not that I like it, but they basically use Telegram channels. So according to the official statements, is these bad organizations use Telegram channels to pretend that they're charities in order to solicit Bitcoin that were used to finance their activities. So general thoughts on this? I know we've covered these stories back in the past. Just again, it's in the news. I'm not really sure what to say. They were using chain analysis to get these addresses. They're also mentioned right here. Okay, so here's what I wanted to tweet out. Sorry, a separate affidavit in support of an arrest warrant detailed how these two people, whose names I can't pronounce, allegedly stored and transferred cryptocurrencies, including Bitcoin, Ether, Ripple, and EOS on behalf of certain organizations. And the one thing I want to comment is, out of these 4 cryptocurrencies that are mentioned, 3 of them have an office you can call and make them stop, and 1 doesn't.
Yeah, there is some resistance. Like the financial system is very, very hard to navigate, right? Especially for international remittances and things like that. And these organizations that we're talking about are in the Middle East, and it takes a lot of bureaucratic wrangling to get money from anywhere in the Western world to these places. So they're kind of using Bitcoin as a shortcut to get it to their fighters and stuff. Obviously, this is, we don't support these organizations in any way, shape, or form. But this, on the other side of the ledger, if you talk to people from the Human Rights Foundation and so on, this happens for people that are actually fighting for freedom in places like Libya or Saudi Arabia and so on. So it's kind of a double-edged sword, but we always knew that about Bitcoin. It can be used for good or it could be used for evil. The point of the matter is that there's no trusted third party, and that's almost always how government sees these funds. But if you remove the trusted third party for good people, then you also remove them for bad people as well. That's just the reality.
All right, and now we're going to move on to our crypto stories as we are joined by 300 live viewers. So, of course, as usual, we talk about Ethereum because that's what the show is about. Ethereum faces inflation problem as gas fees soar. So apparently, gas fees are now up to quite a bit. In this particular example, it talks about $3.30. So basically, the DeFi, which we're going to get to in our next story, so everything leads into another, are blowing Ethereum fees through the roof. And here's one more on this. Decentralized finance, DeFi, frenzy drives Ethereum transaction fees to an all-time high, which is interesting because Ethereum doesn't actually have a scaling strategy. See, Bitcoin, high fees are a feature of Bitcoin. They're a feature of Bitcoin to prevent transaction spam, and Bitcoin has had a plan to deal with high fees with scaling. Of course, that plan was delayed by what we're not going to get into, and why we have a user-activated soft fork anniversary show. But Ethereum doesn't actually have a real scaling plan, as far as I know. That plan's always changing, and the fees are now over $3. And so it's mostly this DeFi stuff, which if you read other articles is only getting started. So this is fascinating to say the least. And we're going to talk about this DeFi concept in a bit. But where is this going?
Yeah, so I wasn't aware that the high fees would create inflation. Can you go back to that story?
Yeah, I'm not exactly sure how that is actually happening, I've been reading this article, and then it immediately turns to talking about Bitcoin and how there's huge demand for Bitcoin. So this is possible that it's a clickbait title, because I don't really see anything here about it creating more inflation. But I did see somewhere else that like Ethereum profit from miners is at an all-time high, which could potentially mean that they have more miners, which could potentially mean that they are having more blocks and more orphans, because we don't know
more
what
uncles.
Ethereum's issuance rate, or uncles. And because we don't know no one knows what Ethereum's actual issuance rate is. So there could be something there, but it's not actually explained in the article.
Yeah, okay, that would make sense. So yeah, this is interesting because DeFi is really picking up pennies in front of a steamroller. I think we've explained that on the show before. It looks like a low risk way, except it works until it doesn't, and then the one time it doesn't, you lose everything. That's just the nature of these sort of these gambling things. The interesting thing, though, is that in order to have the right to pick up pennies in front of a steamroller, you now have to pay like $3. So essentially, you can't play this game unless you have a certain amount of scale, as there's competition for all of these. Any sort of arbitrage like this will close very quickly, and that's what seems to be happening here. There's so many people that want to go pick up pennies in front of a steamroller that they are paying many dollars in order to have that right. And that's the story of DeFi, and that's the story behind this entire craze, is that people are excited about making like 3% off of their Ethereum in dollars or something. And it's kind of like we've been warning on the show over and over, this works until it doesn't. And when it doesn't, you get completely wrecked. That might happen. Yeah, I mean, that might happen 24 months from now. That might happen 12 hours from now.
Well, it also happened 12 hours ago. So here we go. So this morning I wake up and all I'm seeing all over my news feeds is Yam. And at first I felt like an idiot. How come I've never heard of Yam? And then I Google it like an hour and a half ago. And I'm like, oh, I know why I never heard of Yam. It launched. The last time we did this show, it didn't exist. So that's why I never heard of it, because it was only 2 days old. And so imagine you're going to pick up your very first penny on a very brand new track, and you get hit by a steamroller. So this is basically Yam. And we do have 360 live viewers. Can someone please in a live chat tell us what Yam actually did? Because neither Jimmy nor myself know, and I can try to Google it. What does Yam do? But you can imagine, what else did it fill in there? I don't even know. To the body.
No, we're gonna get a bunch of starch-laden recipes or something.
So if I Google what does Yam do, it's gonna take me a little while to figure out what this project actually did. So if anyone can give, because YouTube limits us to 200 characters. So if you can explain Yam in 200 characters, because I can explain Bitcoin in 200 characters if I had to. So if someone can explain it. Yield farmers. No, but like yield farming is not what Yam does. Yam has to do something. I know what yield farming is. Speaking of yield farming, this was the greatest article I have ever read. I really wanted to tweet this out. I really wanted to tweet it out, and I'm going to, and I know people are going to steal my thunder here. So I went back and I found this earlier today. What is yield farming? The rocket fuel of DeFi explained. And after reading this article, I am 100% convinced that this is dumber than ICOs. It's not even close. It's actually not close. This was like, I'm reading it and I don't even know what to say. Like, I'm speechless. And this is CoinDesk, guys. This isn't here. If token, and this is their highlighted quotes. So these are like the best quotes in the article that the author felt needed extra highlights. This is not cynical. This is supposed to be a legitimate article. If tokens are worth money, then you can bank with them or at least do things that look very much like banking, thus decentralized finance. These are like the quotes that the author of this article felt needed to really be projected. On the normal web, you can't buy a blender without giving the site owner enough data to learn your whole life history. In DeFi, you can borrow money without anyone even asking for your name. Now, again, this is not an article to tell you how dumb DeFi is. This is an article that tries to tell you how amazing it is.
Yeah. And it's kind of crazy, right? Like, because you do learn about this stuff, and you're absolutely right. It is dumber than an ICO, except in large part because it's more complicated than an ICO. We were talking before the show, and one of the things I said is, you know, scams back in the day used to be a lot more simple. With altcoins, it was buy our altcoin, it's going to replace Bitcoin. And then ICOs came around, and it was, well, buy our token. It's going to give you the right to do this other thing that might, eventually end up with you being able to cash in. Now it's gotten even more complicated to the point where, okay, you're not actually buying our token per se. You're locking it up and risking it and taking out a loan in which you get rights to do certain things, and you can use that towards this other thing that lets you get yield from this other trade, which allows you to do some, like, it's getting more and more complicated, and it's accelerated to the point where it's not understandable by any normal human being. It's really only understood, well, if at all, by the people that created it, and guess what? They're the ones that are going to make the most money. So, it's going in the same sort of parabolic bubble direction that the previous things that we mentioned did. And I suspect that it will end in the same way. There will be a giant crash. And again, it might happen 24 months from now or 24 hours from now. We don't really know. But it is, the scams have to become more and more complicated as to confuse people, because they've already been burned by altcoins and by ICOs, and they have to bring something new to the market in order to trick the new investors that are coming in.
Yeah, so it's like, this article was absolutely fascinating. I'll tweet out the link to this, guys, don't worry. In a simple example, a yield farmer might put 100,000 USDT into Compound. They will get a token back for that sale called CUSDT. Let's say you get 100,000 CUSDT back. And then I love this parentheses. The formula on Compound is crazy. So it's not one-to-one like that. But it doesn't matter for our purposes here.
They have like these crazy formulas. And if any of these formulas break in any way, the entire thing breaks. This is what I mean by pennies in front of a steamroller.
I do agree with this.
You are the yield. You are going to get wrecked at some point. And
I do agree with this, though. Right now, however, things are not normal, and they probably won't be for a while.
Yeah, and this is in reference to the fact that right now borrowers are getting yield. So in a weird way, it's kind of like negative interest rates. They're being paid to borrow things. That is not normal in any sense of the word. And any rational economic system would never give you money in order for you to borrow money. So that tells you this is much closer to what central banks do than anything else. It's this weird, farming or trying to print money in print your own money at a different level. It's scamming at a different level and trying to take all of the lessons that Wall Street has learned over the many years that it's been in existence and sort of applying it to scam newcomers into crypto.
Yeah, so one last thing on this DeFi stuff. So basically all of these projects like Yam and all the others, so they convince you to stake anything that another idiot is willing to pay for, though they will gladly take Bitcoin, but I don't think anyone is staking Bitcoin. That would be insane. I don't think anyone holding Bitcoin is willing to stake it. So you're basically staking other shitcoins like Ethereum or whatever. and you're staking it on these platforms to earn a token of said platform. And it's explained very well in this article of how this nonsense got popular. Liquidity mining is when a yield farmer gets a new token as well as the usual return. That's the mining part, in exchange for the farmer's liquidity. The idea is that stimulating usage of the platform increases the value of the token, thereby creating a positive usage loop to attract users. But no one uses your shitty applications. They're useless, said somebody who's something. The yield farming examples above are only farming yield off the normal operations of different platforms. Supply liquidity to Compound or Uniswap and get a little cut of the business that runs over the protocols very vanilla. That's kind of what a investment contract is. But anyway, we're not going to get into security law. Compound announced earlier this year it wanted to truly decentralize the product, and it wanted to give a good amount of ownership to the people who made it popular by using it. That ownership would take the form of a shitcoin called Comp. Guys,
well, so here's the really weird thing about Comp, right? And all of these sort of quote unquote governance tokens. Essentially, if you have enough of the governance tokens, you can pretty much make whatever rule you want on that particular token. And the thing about these tokens is that these governance decisions actually matter for the pennies in front of a steamroller scenario. You might get, at any point, you are subject to whatever governance rules are applied by the token. So if they decide, okay, we're going to steamroll everybody that's in this particular token, and we're going to take all of the profits, if somebody comes in and does that, yeah, you're kind of out of luck. This is what I expect to happen at some point on some of these tokens is, you're gonna get some yield, but then as once you're the sheep that's got enough, wool or meat or whatever, they're going to skin you alive and take, take everything.
Look, unfortunately, the majority of people watching this don't really need to hear this because they are a little bit wiser than people watching other YouTube channels. Here's how this works. When Compound has the majority of the Comp token, they make all the rules. It is centralized. When they got enough people fooled that this Comp token is worth money, it's time for them to cash out, take their billions, and spend it on what. Again, trying to be clean for the show. So at that point in time, the people running Compound, they know their project is unsustainable, and they are laughing at the fools buying their token. Link works the same way, and so do all the others. So at some point, when they no longer care to control their project in a centralized way, they convince the sheep that they will be in control of the project as it becomes decentralized, as they buy this token from them. And once they sell off, and they have to keep the facade going, you are buying this token to make us more decentralized. You are buying this token to make us more decentralized. And once they sell all of their token, and they no longer have a mechanism to create more token for themselves, they walk away from the project as it goes to shit where it belonged from the start. This is what happened to Steemit. Like, they just sold it to Justin Sun. That's basically how it works. Let me just finish this part real quick and then we'll move on. Lest this sounds too altruistic, keep in mind that the people who created it, the team and the investors, owned more than half of the equity. By giving away a healthy proportion to users, that was very likely to make it a much more popular place for lending. In turn, that would make everyone's stake worth much more. So Compound announced this 4-year period where the protocol could give out Comp tokens, not the protocol, 3 people that created it, or however many, give out the tokens to the users, a fixed amount every day until it was gone. These comp tokens control the protocol, just as shareholders ultimately control publicly traded companies. Every day, the compound protocol looks at everyone who had lent money to the application and who had borrowed from it and gives them comp proportional to their share of that day's total business. But whoever gets this comp token is immediately incentivized to sell it. This is the whole yield farming garbage. But someone has to buy this garbage on the other end. So you are always selling it to the next bag holder. This article is beyond fascinating. It's man, like I wish it's pretty long too. Like I wish I had the time to really get into it. Hold on. There was one part about Bitcoin. It was great. I think I sent it to you, Jimmy. I gotta control F on Bitcoin. Nope, not there. Oh
yeah,
God.
I mean, I think it's talking about Bitcoin as one of the assets that you can lock up or something in one of their wrapped
right.
Bitcoin
If anyone is dumb enough to wrap up Bitcoin on Ethereum, that's what you would get. It was somewhere there. Anyway, I'm gonna
WBTC, yeah.
I'm gonna tweet this out later. It's insane. It's absolutely insane. Anyway, so let's move on to. Oh wait, before we get to our only Bitcoin story, I want to mention this real quick. So I had no idea. So you know that remember the Link scam token, the Oracle that is totally useless, and all it does is come up with the price of shit coins and passes them on to other useless protocols. That's basically what Link does. Link is now $18 a token and is up to number 5 on CoinMarketCap.
Yep, and it has passed both Bitcoin Cash and Bitcoin SV, so it's hilarious.
And Litecoin and Monero, the amazing Monero, is in 16th place.
Yeah. Well, I mean, what's even more funny is that I believe Steam also made it to number 5, and Steam is now, I think, past 100. So you have to actually go to the next page of CoinMarketCap to find Steam.
Oh man, Jimmy, I got screenshots, man. BitConnect was number 6. I have a screenshot of that. Paycoin, remember Paycoin? That was number 3.
I mean, I'm gonna guess that Chainlink's not gonna go up much more on this chart. Maybe they get past Tether, but yeah, this is how bubbles form. I mean, it's up some insane amount over the last 30 days.
Oh yeah,
and this is after the story that we covered, where there was a long story about how it isn't worth anything, and the company had taken out a large short position. They obviously got wrecked because they took out the short position at like $7. It's 18. There's no way they had enough capital to cover.
So, right. So, and oh man, I can go on and on. Aurora Coin was number 2. I have screenshots of this stuff. There was some other. Oh, DAI was in the top 10. I think DAI made it to 6 or 5. The DAO, not DAI. Sorry, the DAO. Anyway, so what does Chainlink do? Chainlink is an oracle, and the only usefulness so far is to provide the price of, basically provide CoinMarketCap to other projects. But they now have real competition. Sequoia backed Band protocol token starts trading on Coinbase. So Band is a native token of the Band protocol, which is an Oracle platform, which is backed by Sequoia, and Binance financed the project. So Band has surged 180% since Coinbase announced it on August 5th. So basically, that's the other thing on these oracles. They will, if there is a need for these oracles, they will be done by, companies that are more transparent. And while this Band protocol is the same, garbage blockchain, or claims to be a blockchain with its own token, that Chainlink is, it has Sequoia Capital and Binance and Coinbase kind of behind it. So although I don't know if Link is on Coinbase or not, it could be. Someone tweeted at me earlier today that apparently, remember that guy that we talked about, some YouTuber that I said just wanted attention, and you said he has interesting videos?
The Barstool Sports guy.
Yeah. So someone just, I don't know if this is fact or not, but I asked for like evidence and Link. Apparently he met with the Winklevoss twins and they sold him Link. So I don't know if they're trolling him. I don't know if that's a troll job on the part of the Winklevoss twins or what, but I don't know if that's fact or not. So someone said that to me earlier, and I said, can you please, provide some evidence of that? So if that's
there's a 10-minute video on Twitter. I haven't watched it, but I can send it.
I haven't watched it either, but someone said that, hey, what's up with the Winklevoss twins? They just sold that guy like millions of dollars worth of Link token. But anyway, so look, these oracles will eventually be totally centralized because they just make more sense centralized. They make no sense decentralized, and we talked about that earlier. So speaking of, again, competition, because if it's not Bitcoin, it will be done cheaper, faster, more efficiently, and be more trusted in a centralized way. And this brings us to Coinbase to offer Bitcoin-backed loans to US customers. And this is how the Celsius nonsense dies. And this is how these things die. If there is a need, if someone wants to put up X amount of Bitcoin or shitcoin and get 30% of that value as a loan, why would you do it on a platform where they have no regulation? You don't know who their programmers are. You have no one to hold accountable. And the CEO can just run away with the money if he wants. Though in this case, Brian Armstrong is not expected to run away with the Bitcoin because this is a regulated company. And that's the difference. Sure, you will pay 8% instead of maybe 3%, which you would have to pay by buying the Celsius scam coin. But you have so much risk of your capital being at risk. Here, your capital is at Coinbase, which has a lot less risk, and they're insured and they're fully regulated. So if there is this need for, getting a loan off of your crypto, it will be moved to these centralized regulated entities. It's not going to continue happening in the ridiculous space of DeFi. What are your thoughts about this, Jimmy?
Well, so going back, first of all, to the whole Oracle stuff, this is with Chainlink and Band and all of these guys. I just want to note that these are not very difficult problems in the human world, right? Like, it's not hard to establish whether, the Lakers won last night or something like that.
Right.
Those are very easy. The fact that you have to build an entire $1 billion or $6 billion in the case of Chainlink, like coin, in order to be able to have somebody say that the Lakers won last night is absolutely ridiculous. Like that, it shouldn't cost you that much money to have people that are willing to say something that obvious. Yet that's kind of what you have to do in the smart contract world, because it's possible for people to lie, and what you say is in the end what the smart contract will listen to, and so on. And this is, it sort of brings up why smart contracts in large part are not a good idea, because you have this giant Oracle problem, and you end up with these sort of scammy things with lots of coins and lots of money raised and things like that, because people are anticipating that this will become like a use case, but there's nothing that is really decentralized about a loan or any of these bets that they want to make on there.
Here's that first Oracle, Jimmy. Augur was the first Oracle. There it is, number 58.
Well, if you want to go down to the next page, I think I was looking earlier. I think Gnosis is the other one, and they're like in the 100 something. So
is that what they do? I never knew. I never knew.
Gnosis is the competitor to Augur that Joe Lubin made because I don't know, Augur wouldn't come to consensus or something.
I always refer to Gnosis as Geonosis, like that planet from Star Wars.
Gnosis. All right. So, and the Coinbase story is interesting because I guess they have enough regulatory clearance to be able to give out loans, but their loan to value ratio is fairly low. It's 30%. And really, for most people that do use these loans, the vast majority of them are either paying off some expenses and want the upside of Bitcoin, or they are trying to get levered up in Bitcoin. If you're trying to lever up in Bitcoin, I think the far better way to do that is, use an exchange that's designed for that. There's many of them out there, including like OKX and BitMEX and many others that will give you significant leverage if you want to do that. So in a way, like these quote unquote loan products are not really loans as much as they are sort of for greedy people that are trying to not get wrecked. But we know that the volatility is really high. And if you lever up, you're much more likely to get wrecked than if you just keep it like, with the hodl strategy that I think most people will want to do.
All right. So back to loans. What are your thoughts on what I said?
Yeah, I think I just told you, like, really most people using loans are either paying their expenses and don't want the downside.
No, not that part. Not that part. I'm talking about how all of these decentralized DeFi version of the loans with their own shit coins, it will all go away in place for more regulated entities that don't have a scam coin.
Yeah, I think that's probably true. I'm not sure how many people really want loans in that way. If you do, like, for example, if I wanted a loan, I think I would go to like Unchained Capital or somebody like that. I don't like Coinbase's terms, and I'm sure they're pretty exploitive versus someone like Unchained. But yeah, I mean, the fact of the matter is that there is a lot more centralized competition, and they'll be able to give you better rates and better terms and things like that. And they have to compete against these quote unquote decentralized ones. But again, they're just as centralized, honestly. It's just less regulated, really. So why would you? I mean, there's probably going to be a discount on those that that they have to offer in order to make up for the fact that they're not regulated.
Yeah, and people are saying like Ethereum is pumping, and here's the thing that people we're trying to explain this to people in that Bcash split. Ethereum wants to be gas to power the world computer. So the users of Ethereum need Ethereum to be as cheap as possible. But the speculators of Ethereum want Ethereum to be as expensive as possible because they're using it for speculation. And this is where every single shitcoin, unless you are trying to be money. See, I don't want to say every single shitcoin has this ridiculous problem, and that's why they're all going to implode, because there are some shitcoins that are only trying to be money, right? This is your Monero, this is your Litecoin. That's pretty much it. There's nothing else that competes. And even though they don't get me, I don't want to get misquoted here. They don't actually compete. They think they do, but they don't. So unless your only function is money, you basically, you will not function as a utility token and as a speculative instrument, because as the price of your token goes up, your token is no longer useful for its designed purpose of being a utility. This is the problem. This is the problem that Ethereum faces. Like if Ethereum goes to $1,000 and this DeFi picks up, it'll be like $20 per transaction. If nothing else, then the cost of Ethereum is higher.
Yeah, they have some problems, and it doesn't look like it's getting solved anytime soon. And This is the double-edged sword, is that on the one hand, you have scaling concerns that you're not going to solve anytime soon. I mean, I think the most optimistic projection of Ethereum 2.0 being ready is like 5 years from now. And, you know, there's also this, you know, speculative element that makes all of that worthwhile. But if the speculative element goes away, then no one's going to actually want to transact on Ethereum. So it's a weird situation. It's unsustainable, and the things that can't be sustained won't be. So that's what I'm expecting.
All right, so let's talk about the mempool a little bit. See, Bitcoin has the same problem. When people complain that the Bitcoin fee is high, if the price of Bitcoin goes up 10x, your fee in dollars goes up 10x, because one Satoshi has just went up in price by 10x. And this is one of the things that people have a problem comprehending when they say, well, the fees on Bcash are cheaper. Well, yes, because the lowest unit of Bcash, the Vays, is a lot cheaper than the smallest unit of Bitcoin, the Satoshi.
I like how you call it the Vays. Yeah, it looks like the mempool has cleared. It amazingly cleared all of the 1 sat per byte transactions last night, which is encouraging.
Oh yeah, that's a 3-month chart. Let's go to the weekly. It's not on a
week.
Oh,
that's a 3-month.
My bad.
No, but it did clear last night, regardless.
It cleared a lot. It cleared right there.
Yeah. So that's a very good thing. But as usual, we had the you know, the BitMEX super you know, mempool clogging thing that happens every morning, and that continues. You know, right now it's pretty stratified. If you want to get in on the next block, you're going to have to pay about 50 sats per byte. If you're willing to wait 30 minutes, 7
no,
sats
we just
per byte
got I think we just got a block. This just dropped. I thought I saw 50.
Oh, yeah.
It just dropped to 25. Did we just catch a block?
Yeah, it looks like it. It looks like it. So 25 will do. 7 and 3 blocks. If you're willing to wait overnight, 2 or 3 should be plenty.
Yep, there you guys go. All right, Jimmy, thanks again for joining us on the show. You can check out his website, Programming Bitcoin. Any upcoming webinars, workshops? No?
No, I'm busy doing some other projects, which I will be announcing eventually. But right now I'm still working on a bunch of no webinars or anything like that right now.
And you can check out Programming Bitcoin or the Little Bitcoin book. Haven't talked about this gem in a little while. When are translations coming out? Any updates?
Yeah, we have most of them done. It's just that COVID makes physical printing and distribution a little bit more problematic. So we're looking into solutions for that. We did have the 1-year anniversary of this book about a week and a half ago, something like that. So like we have a lot of translations that are done and ready to go, including like Arabic and Russian and many others. But the distribution's a little bit of a problem, and that's something that we're honestly having a little trouble with, because we don't know, say, the Russian market or the Arabic market or the Japanese market or any of those. So it's something we're working on and trying to make work to get to work so we can distribute this in time.
Okay, so I forgot to actually look at the comments to figure out what Yam actually does. So Yam was supposed to be a stable token to represent $1, and it was going to be basically just, it would come to the value of $1 by people trading it, by people selling it when it was over $1 and buying it when it was under $1. And the only way to get Yam in circulation is to lock up, you know, your Ethereum and or whatever. You lock up other shit, and then you like earn Yam, and then Yam is just representing $1. So it's basically, it's the definition of printing money out of thin air.
I guess it's like DAI and MakerDAO or something like that. Yeah, like, and all of those pegs are synthetic. I guess that's what happened there. It's a synthetic peg that broke or got out of whack, and they printed a bunch more in order to do that. It's not very, honestly, DeFi is the closest thing to central banking that I've seen, that we have. And they do the exact same things that central banks do, which is print a lot, try to manage the quote unquote economy, and basically run things for the benefit of their friends.
And one last thing, if you got a few more minutes, so we do have we don't really do super chat and tipped questions, and this is definitely not a 2-minute answer, assuming we even have an answer. But I will read the question for $5 Canadian. Thank you so much, Gav. What applications can blockchain mathematics and Bitcoin have with quantum science, i.e., quantum computing, consciousness, and time travel? Jimmy, go.
Well, quantum, we don't know what's possible with quantum. And in fact, all evidence seems to suggest that quantum won't do very much. They've been able to factor the number 15 into 3 and 5 using a quantum computer. That's about the extent of it. And they're able to get random numbers using random particles. That's really about it. Quantum computing is way overhyped. And I get this question constantly. At different conferences, on Twitter, all over the place. And generally the question is, the media is making a big deal out of quantum, should I be worried about it and stuff like that? And I kind of look at it like COVID, right? The media made a huge deal about COVID, and it's what people are scared of. If you're scared about anything biologically, it's probably not COVID, right? Like the thing that's gonna kill humanity is not going to be COVID, it'll be something else. And so in that way, quantum computing is kind of similar. It's got a lot of hype because of a lot of the media attention is focused on it, but in actuality, it's about as it's about as deadly to cryptography as COVID is to humanity. Like saying, oh, will it break this encryption and stuff like that? It's kind of like saying, will COVID kill off everybody in the United States? It's not going to happen. And yeah, you just dig a little deeper, try to understand what's actually going on with, near absolute zero temperatures in these, quantum states, and all of the error correction that needs to happen, and the decay that happens, and all of the weirdnesses that you can't really correct for easily. And yeah, it's a giant hype machine around quantum computing, and I'm sorry that you've fallen into that.
All right. Are we letting you go, Joe? Jimmy. You sent me a tweet. Should I pull that up as well, or was that a while ago that I totally missed?
That was a while ago. That's the Winklevoss twins with the Barstool Sports guy. It's like 10 minutes. I haven't watched it.
Right, I haven't watched it either. So I hope I didn't I like those guys. I hope I didn't missay something. Like I said, it's just something somebody tweeted at you right before the show. I didn't have time to check, and we were talking about linked, but I guess I'll watch it right after. I'm not going to watch it on live air.
I would like to see a little bit of price analysis, because we're at 11.7. We're inching up towards 12 again.
Yeah. So here is that Dave Portnoy video. Yeah, I guess we'll check it out. I don't see anyone mentioning links, so maybe that didn't happen.
But a lot of people were not happy with the Twins' performance. That's all I've heard. I don't know exactly.
Oh, really? All right, so we'll need to check that out after. All right, so let's take a look at the price. Oh, look, this morning when I looked at I actually looked at the price at all. I had no idea it popped. I was looking at it this morning. I had a very short video, and we were in the red for the week on a weekly scale. But I said there wasn't really much to worry about here. And it looks like that was the correct view. I am now pretty damn bullish, though it's technically still in my no trade zone. If I go to the daily chart, we are having a pretty damn good day. And according to some of the indicators, like the indicator that I've been following the most on this current little run up has been an indicator called the Arun. And if we go a little bit higher, we can probably avoid dropping past 50, which is a bit of a barrier here. So we do need to get back to that $12,000 range in order to keep this thing from continuing to slide. But right now,
if it gets to 12,000, is that an ascending triangle there? Because you got 2 touches at 12,000 already.
Yeah, you know, I can probably make one now. Let me try.
I think on the 4-hour it's a little more obvious, but yeah.
On a 4-hour it might be a little bit more obvious. I have not drawn it yet. Here's the 4-hour. All the metrics look great, especially on a 4-hour. The 4-hour looks awesome. I think earlier today I said I was considering lowering this bar to like here, but I didn't do it. This is a pretty bullish jump right here. I think it must have happened very recently, maybe even in the last hour.
Last 2 hours, yeah.
Last 3 hours, okay. So, yeah, this is a pretty bullish sign here. And the reason why I was kind of bullish this morning, and in my morning video, I said I am looking for an imminent price rise. And the reason I was looking for that is because the stock market was doing very well early this morning, and so was gold. So gold and the stock market were both doing pretty good. This is today's candle, by the way. This is already tomorrow's candle, August 14th. Same thing with futures. This is already tomorrow's candle. That's today's candle. So the stock market was rallying, gold was rallying, and Bitcoin was still struggling this morning. So I said this morning that I was more optimistic than pessimistic as to what's going to happen. And that turned out to be the right position to take. We broke the highs of yesterday, and we kind of took off here, and I like it. If we can get back to that 12,000, it's looking great. Now, as far as the triangle goes, I no longer need this, so I'm just going to repurpose this triangle. So I'm going to see if I can draw it here based on my rules. And it's not bad. I can certainly see it as something like this. It's pretty good. It's pretty good, and it's not going to take long to resolve itself. So this is looking good. I drew this arrow taking us to 14K. I don't really want to move this arrow over, but it's starting to clutter my chart. But once we break 12,000 or even 11.9, that's looking nice, because now you can take this arrow, and that is about 1,300. And that's what we do. We move that over here. We move it 1,300 up. That becomes the target.
13,000 or so?
Yep, 13.15. Yep, about 13.2. Let me put it right at 13. Come on. There we go. Perfect. And this goes kind of like that. I didn't mean to move the triangle. But anyway, I'll adjust this later. But something like this. And I'm going to be about it like that. Okay. So that's basically what I'm looking for. Now, this breakout will probably not happen tomorrow. Ideally, you want this to drag out into, next week. So you want this to pull back a little more, down back to 11.6, get some more momentum, more consolidation, and then a breakout. But yeah, it was one of the other articles talked about how, between MicroStrategy's buying so much Bitcoin and GBTC buying so much Bitcoin, and man, it's miners are doing pretty damn well right now. Because they're not mining enough Bitcoin, and the demand is higher, so sooner or later it's going to take off. I mean, speculation can still drop the price, but it's going to be hard. If we make it to 14,000, it becomes very, very unlikely we go below 10 again. Like ever.
That's good news. I think I'd like that. I think a lot of our viewers would also like that. But yeah, I would love to see 13. I guess before BitBlock boom. It looks like that's around the time frame we're talking about.
Oh yeah, guys. Speaking of BitBlock boom, come down. I will be at BitBlock boom, and that's where you can find me at next week in Austin. Oh no, sorry, Dallas. It's in Dallas.
Well, it's not next week. It's I think the
2
week
weeks.
after.
In 2 weeks.
Yeah, but by then the triangle will have resolved one way or the other. So we'll at least talk about that.
All right, guys. That's it for us. Thank you so much for watching, and see you all on the next one. Bye, guys.
Fiat Delenda Est. This song is done.